Jim Rohn said, "Success is what you attract by the person you become." How do you become? You become by designing the exact person you want to be and becoming that person right now. You see, I find that most people believe that success is either by accident or by luck. I believe that success is by design. Hi, I'm Alfonso Cuadra, entrepreneur, author, speaker, and creator and host of this program. You see, I went from being a 15-year-old, war-torn, homeless high school dropout to running a successful corporation before the age of 20. But what happened? Did the world change? Did people change? No. I discovered that for things to change in my life, I had to change. And I did. I sat down at 17 years old and I wrote a list of goals and designed the exact life I wanted to live. I achieved everything on that list before 20 years old. Success is not by accident. It is by design. And welcome to the Success by Design show, where we bring you the stories and formulas of successful people that have designed their own success. And today, we're talking about something that resonates with me, overcoming challenges. Not so much business challenges, but some personal challenges, and we'll see how we're going to talk about that. But today we have Siham in the studios. Siham, how you doing?
Doing very good. Thank you so much for having me to the show today. Thank you.
First of all, you have a spectacular dress.
Thank you so much.
So I just wanted to say you're looking very lovely. And today we're talking about a very serious subject.
Yeah.
It's overcoming challenges. So can you and I know you had to overcome some challenges in your life.
Yeah.
Can you tell us your story?
Well, everything happened in Algeria first, because I grew up in Algeria. Algeria, it's a wonderful country, but has been devastated by the civil war during 10 years. And women were targeted. Women has to stay at home and wear the veil and give up, job, give up university, study. And for me, that it was more than being dead. For me, it was giving up my freedom, giving
Wow.
up my woman aspiration, my dreams. And I fought. I decided to don't give up, and every day it was a challenge to stay alive, because if you don't follow the rule, you might be killed.
So let me ask you this question. You grew up this is the culture of that country, right?
Well, no, because
Is this something new?
it was something new, exactly. It was a rise of a certain political, let's say, party, and it was very, very conservative. Even extremists, they wanted to turn Algeria into Afghanistan, and because
Wow.
the civil population didn't follow, so they took revenge of the civil population, and it was women were targeted mainly. Yeah.
So you growing up in this country, all of a sudden they say, no, you can't. So at some point you had some dreams. You were, it was more of a free country,
Oh, yeah.
and then all of a sudden, boom,
Yeah.
no, you stay at home, you
Yeah.
wear the veil, and you can't pursue your dreams.
Exactly, and there is so many women who have been killed, and then it was targeted, and then it became just random. It was bombing everywhere, bombing at schools, bombing in the markets, in the airports, in the buses. So the biggest challenge was just to make it, to go in the morning, go at school, and come back in one piece at night.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So from there you came to Canada, and can you maybe, for someone out there, there's some new immigrants in Canada even right now. So what can you share of that experience of overcoming that kind of those challenges? New country, new language. It's Algeria is French, right?
It's French.
Yeah.
French
So not so much new language, but also now you have to adapt English as
Yeah.
well. So can you kind of give us a little bit on that?
Yeah, so after that I decided to immigrate to Canada. I arrived here in 2003, and as most of immigrants, I came only with little bit of money.
By yourself?
Yeah, one
Wow.
suitcase and a lot
Did you have this dress?
No. No. And yes, and being honest today, I think that Canada is the best country of the world.
Wow.
I really think it is the land of opportunity. Canada, if you want to have a steady job, you can have a steady job. If you want to go back to school, you can go to school. If you want to open your business, they encourage you to open business, and there is so many resources. And I think that there is a lot of people who take that, this country like for granted. But I always say you have to know hell to appreciate heaven. And I really, really, really believe that Canada it's one of the most beautiful country in the world. And I feel so fortunate to live here.
So now you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And so for people, you know, because it's a big difference, you know, you come in here, no money, new country,
Yeah.
big dreams.
Yeah.
So what's the trend, how did you go from, just landing here with a suitcase,
Yeah.
not even having that dress,
No.
to being an entrepreneur, and then now having this dress? No, I'm just joking. But really, how did you tell us about how you started your business and some of the challenges you had to overcome.
Okay. So let's go back in time. I arrived here in 2003, and as soon as I arrived, I joined the workforce. I wanted to work right away, which I did. And then, I don't know if it has been the same for you, but for me, open my business has been a long process, like a maturation, something that you think about it and takes time to mature. As you know, if you're a woman and you're pregnant, so from the moment you get pregnant to you deliver, there is 9 months. For me, it was 9 years.
Wow.
So I arrived in 2003, and I gave birth to my business in 2012. So it was approximately 9 years, but I have been through challenges, of course, and I always been, from the 9 to 5, having the security of a paycheck, and because everyone was living like that, but deep down I was still thinking and dreaming of doing my business, until in my last job I was working for a major bank, and the CEO just flew from Toronto to announce that the branch was relocating elsewhere, so all the staff was laid off. And I remember people crying and panicking, and me, I was outside thinking, well, everything happens for a reason. Maybe, the heaven above is just throwing me, some opportunity and say, it's time for you to do what you want. And
so some of those challenges, you convert them into opportunity.
Exactly. So I had another challenge is, okay, you have the idea, you're passionate about something, but what about, the capital, the money? And when you don't have money, you are going to knock at the door of the banks. The bank with the crisis, do not lend easily. So I had another challenge, what I'm going to do. So I had only my RSPs, so I decided to cash my RSPs and go from there. And people were saying, you're crazy, you cannot do that, this is saving of a lifetime, this is for your retirement. I say, but no risk, no glory, so let's cash my RSPs, and if it works, maybe I will put more RSPs, but I have to start from somewhere. Yeah.
So you immigrated from another country.
Yeah.
You had all these challenges back home. Then you came here, then you had some challenges.
Yeah.
Now, for the people that are watching, and they're going through personal challenges, business challenges.
Yeah.
I mean, there's all kinds of challenges.
Yeah.
What can you tell them about overcoming challenges?
When you have a challenge, I think that my biggest secret is that don't see it as one chunk. Take it one step at a time. Because if you see it big, you will just feel overwhelmed. And you say, oh my God, this is too big, from where I'm going to start. And sometimes all that you want to do is to run away. But just take it one step at a time and think about, if this doesn't work, how can I go around? And this is how it works for me. So I don't get overwhelmed. Otherwise, you just say, no, it's not for me. I'm giving up. Let's grab a job like everyone.
just be an ant.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so now your business is you've had your business for a little bit now. What was that moment for you? That aha moment? That moment you said, you know what? This is really working for me, or this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life.
One day I was working for the bank, and a client just came and make a big transfer of money, and I was talking to my colleague. I say, why in this world there is people who has just a little bit of money, living paycheck to paycheck, and there is people who has a lot of money. Well, for me, money wasn't my first purpose in doing the business, but it was about the drive. And she told me something that just was my wake-up call. She said, because there is people who are willing to take more risks than others. And I say, yeah, so risk, of course, risk, but we are all afraid, of taking risk. We are afraid to go out from our comfort zone. So my aha moment was when I decided to take this risk. And I say, yeah, I'm going to take this risk. I'm sole caregiver of a sick mother, so it's very costly for me. But I say, you know what, I want to do it for her. I want to do it for myself. And no risk, no glory. So let's do it.
That's beautiful. So now you brought some, and the name of your company?
It's BioSecrets.
So you brought this. I want you to hold that and just tell me a little bit about this real quick.
Yeah. So argan oil, you can find the argan oil only in Morocco, nowhere else in the world. It's
So this is from Morocco.
This is from Morocco. Yeah, you can see imported from Morocco. It's a healing oil. It's a healing and restorative oil. So it becomes very popular in the cosmetic industry because of all the good benefits. So for example, if you have very dry skin, if you have eczema, if you have rashes for diaper rashes, it works wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's a very powerful anti-wrinkle as well. And this is why there is...
does it grow hair back?
Not really.
Okay,
but
I'll try it anyways.
You can try it, and it's all, it's organic, it's chemical free, it's pressed handy by the Berber women. Just to say a little bit about the Berber women, they are the first nation of North Africa and very poor community, and they have the exclusive right of producing and selling the argan oil. So for me, it's a little bit related to my personal story because I had the chance to come here and have a new beginning, but those women are still fighting to have basic rights.
Wow.
So this is why whenever you buy argan oil, let's say it's mine, another brand, just know that you are empowering those women.
Wow, that's incredible. Yeah. That's incredible. Okay, so because we're running out of time, we're going to go to commercial break in about probably in about a minute.
Okay.
We were supposed to get 3 tips. Give me 1 tip.
1 tip. There is so many tips, but we are going to start with the most important. We are all afraid, which is normal. The person who says, oh, I'm not afraid, I'm going to make it, I'm the best, it's not true. And the biggest challenge is to overcome your fears. And for that, there is a tip. Go talk to your family, talk to your friends, and try to have advices, try to have comfort, even some kicks, when it's needed. This is what happened to me.
Kick in the behind.
Yeah, kick in the behind, in behind.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming on the program.
You're welcome.
I hope to see you back. And of course, stick around for more of Success by Design Show after this. Welcome back to the Success by Design Show, where we are talking to people about some challenges, overcoming challenges, personal challenges, business challenges, all kinds of challenges. If you have challenges out there, you might want to stick around and talk to Mr. Dr. Simeon Roger. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a joy to be here.
So tell us a little bit about what you do.
So what I do really is I look at human resilience. How is the human being meant to function? How's human life meant to function? And this is what I've been doing for really almost 35 years now.
Wow, 35 years.
Is looking at human life. And because when you talk about overcoming challenges, you've said it yourself, success is by design. Now what that really means is success is from within. It's an inside job. Life is an inside job. And because it's an inside job, it's, as you said, it's about remaking yourself. And in order to remake yourself, you've got to understand how the human being works so you can remake yourself properly.
Now, a lot of people, everybody has to overcome some sort of challenge.
Oh yeah.
So is it the challenge, do we need to learn about kind of what you teach in order to be able to overcome challenges faster? Or do people just do it by default? How does it work?
Well, sometimes people do it by default. It's true. Sometimes you just either you find good advice somewhere, or you stumble upon it, or you learn through the school of hard knocks. Mm-hmm. You learn what doesn't work, and then you figure out what does. Now, of course, that's the long learning curve, right? And you want to shorten it. And really, one of the best things I can say, if you want to shorten that learning curve, if you want to get over the challenges quickly and understand how the challenges work, one of the best things you can do is something that very few people in our culture know how to do, and that is focus on your emotional tone.
And the inner side.
Focus on your emotional tone. Ask yourself literally several times a day, how do you feel? Because if you can use the principle, feel consistently great, use that as a guiding star, your life will change totally. Mm-hmm. So the whole idea of focusing on how you feel and simply trying to feel better, reaching for the thought of something that will make you feel better, what this does is just simply amazing, because the life you create, whether it's by design or default, comes from this emotional tone. That's where it comes from. It's a combination of your expectations and your emotions. So whatever your emotionalized expectations are in any area of life, that's what you will get.
So if there is a challenge in my life, you're saying before looking at the challenge, look at how I'm feeling, because how I'm feeling, it might change the way I look at that challenge.
Absolutely, because challenges are always going to come. But the point is, you don't have to worry about a challenge. As it's often been said, a challenge is just an opportunity in disguise. And because that's the case, when you focus on simply feeling better, and when your emotional tone is higher, when you're feeling good, no matter what the challenge, you don't have to worry about the challenge. It takes care of itself.
So do you have some examples of, how, for example, what kind of, a challenge that I would be facing, and then how I would change kind of my feeling towards it?
Oh, absolutely. You can take any challenge you like. Say it's a health challenge. Now, if you have a health challenge...
I've just been diagnosed with something.
Okay, you've been diagnosed with something. Yeah. And that's a really good example, because when you change that emotional tone, what happens is it changes literally the secretions of various glands in your body, so that you will create a healthier internal environment. You'll create a less acidic, more alkaline environment that's hostile to disease.
Wow.
Simply by feeling better about yourself and about your life.
Do you find that sometimes these doctors, they give you all the statistics, 1 in 5 and all that kind of, it affects your feeling? How can you feel good when these doctors are telling you you're going to die, right?
Turn off the television. No, it's true.
Yeah.
If you want to feel better, and it's true, if you want to feel better, go news-free. Mm-hmm. Really, you have to.
Yeah.
There's no
other
way.
But what about the actual doctor giving you the diagnosis, right? He's telling you, you know what, you got 5 months. So, and I've seen people just overcome, now they're living 10 years. But it's, how does someone change the feeling when there's so much out there just bombarding you with all this negativity?
That's a really good question. That's why it's important to begin right now, before the challenge begins. To look at your emotional tone, because once you're fortified in the ability to control your emotional tone...
So start small, you're saying?
Yeah, when you control your emotional tone, when you control how you feel, and you know how to make yourself feel better almost on demand, when a challenge comes, essentially if there's a line that's your emotional tone, you would think when most people get hit with a challenge, it drops off like this. When you can keep going like this, I can tell you that challenge will resolve itself.
So, for example, some people, they've just emotional roller coasters,
Yeah.
right? So, would you suggest maybe like kind of going like a valley, kind of like this? Like when you get down but not too down, and you're excited but not too excited, and it's kind of like a valley? Or how do we just maintain an emotional line?
The first way to maintain it is simply become aware of it, because most people in our culture are not aware of their emotional tone and their feelings. And there's a really deep-seated reason for this. It goes back to the whole worldview that we have in the Western world. And the worldview technically is referred to often as the Newtonian worldview. So from Sir Isaac Newton, the famous British astronomer who's been dead now almost 300 years, but he's still messing up your life. Okay, that's the catch. And not to pin it on Sir Isaac, he was busy looking for mathematical principles of the physical world. He did that really, really well. However, this worldview got named for him because part of his view of physics got sort of wrapped into it. And the Newtonian worldview has a few little quirks that people need to know about. First of all, it proposes that the world is impersonal, mechanistic, and hostile. Already you don't feel good, okay?
Yeah.
Your emotional tone just took a dive.
Well, if it's hostile, I don't like hostility, right?
Well, yeah. And the other thing is, according to the Newtonian worldview, life happens outside you. Life is external to you. In other words, your consciousness, how you think, your emotions, anything about you, anything about your consciousness has no effect on material reality.
Wow.
According to that worldview. So it's a very disempowering worldview. It already makes you feel bad. And so in our culture, when you have a challenge, consider that worldview that we already have subconsciously, then consider the fact that we've been taught since we were knee-high to nothing that when we have a challenge, we have to use our logical brain, our rational mind, to figure out the answer. The problem is with a lot of life's challenges, you don't have the answer. So you feel very, very disempowered. And at that point, you even begin to feel a little bit anxious.
Wow.
And so there's a very low-level anxiety that runs through all of society because of this particular worldview. And that low-level anxiety creates what we call defense or defensive physiology. It's like low-level fight or flight. Okay? And what that's doing to you emotionally is dragging down your emotional tone. It's also harming your health in the long run. So that's the catch. That's what the Newtonian worldview does.
So what in your teachings and what is it exactly that you do to help people? Maybe people stuck and they come to you, or somebody just wants to come to you before they get stuck, or how does it work?
Well, a lot of people come when they're already stuck. I'd say most people. They're already stuck, and so we take wherever they're stuck with, and usually, all stuckness ultimately is emotional when you get right down to it.
Wow.
And even though we work a lot through the physical body, we do that because your emotions are not in your head. Your emotions run all through your psychophysical organism, okay? And they're linked to your inner organs and all this sort of stuff. So we start with why they're stuck. We'll even teach them things about, say, the Newtonian worldview and the fact that, it was founded on science 300 years old. Guess what? Our science disproved the Newtonian worldview 90 years ago. It's time to get over it. And a lot of the cultural clash that we have within our society today is because of the clash between the Newtonian worldview and what's coming down the pipe. Yeah. So it's just a constant evolution. But so for people, it's, people want to know, okay, how can I, you've talked about the law of attraction and things like that. How can I attract or manifest or create the life that I want? And so we teach people the principles of doing that properly versus the principles that some people think are
Well, there's
there.
movies out there that teach people the positive thinking, but people, they're confused, I think, because it's like, are you in denial or are you being really positive? Because I feel like if you're still feel negative, no matter what you're saying, it's irrelevant, right?
That's right.
So it's not like, oh, you have a garden, a beautiful garden, and it's got some weeds. Oh, there's no weeds. How do people, because people are becoming more aware there's movies out there, law of attraction, all these things.
Yeah.
But how do people, how can people decipher to try to adapt things for themselves?
Well, to keep your emotional tone up, you really do have to look for the positive in all situations. And that's really a training, because we train ourselves dominantly in our culture to look for the negative. And we don't realize that you can look for both aspects, but you're going to get more of whichever one you focus on, and that's the catch. That's the real catch. The other thing we do is really focus too on taking people out of their heads and into their bodies, because until you're in your body, you can't deal with your emotions. And the body and the mind are just incredibly linked. Like I can show you, just pick one finger, any finger, hold it up. Now focus your mental attention on the tip of that finger and ask yourself, using only the power of your mind, what physical sensations do you detect at the end of that finger? What do you feel?
I feel like a numbness.
Okay.
Like I feel like it might be numb because like I'm pointing up and maybe the blood is going down.
And there are lots of things you can feel, but it's usually, people will say, oh, I feel a tingling, I feel hot or cold, I feel numbness, whatever it is. And there are no wrong answers. That's perfectly okay. Now, the interesting thing is, what you've been able to do is you've been able to use your mind to detect what's going on physiologically at a remote location on your body.
Wow.
Now, you can be trained to do that anywhere on or in your body. That's pretty easy to do. The other thing that's even more powerful than that is if we could hook you up while you're doing that to instruments that are sensitive enough, we could prove to you that by focusing your mental attention on the tip of that finger, you actually change the physiology at the end of that finger.
Wow.
You increase the flow of blood, the flow of oxygen, and therefore, according to Chinese medicine at least, the flow of energy or qi to the end of that finger. Now, if you increase the flow of blood, oxygen, and energy to a part in your body, is that a good thing?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, it's a healing reaction. Yeah. And it's a healing reaction you brought about using only the power of your mind. So you've used consciousness to change physiology.
Wow. So someone right now, they took a lot of notes and they're gonna come contact you and maybe you can get them unstuck. So we're coming to the end of the program. Yep. But before we wrap up, can you give us one quote that you live your life by?
I'm not really sure I could give you one quote that I live my life by, but what I can say is that the most important thing to focus on really is it's your emotional tone. But in order to do that, and here's the catch, you've got to get back in your body.
Get back in your body.
Get back in your body. And there are very specific ways to do that. We're a culture that lives in the head, and this is detrimental to our health, to our relationships, to our careers, to our businesses, to everything, and that's what's happening.
Thank you, Dr. Roger.
You take care, Alfonso.
This was a great interview, and for the people at home, I hope you can overcome any challenge and come back next time for more of Success by Design Show.